Welcome to Catch the Craze. We are the heart of the industry.
I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy. You so crazy. Crazy. Who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest?
Make sure and check out Movies You Can Read at Daystar Studios. www.daystar-studios.com.
Man, this sucks. I've been to every publishing company on the floor and no one has even given my stuff a look. I knew that getting published was going to be tough, man, but this is just killer. No one will publish me unless I've already been published. I guess I could try self-publishing, but who's got that kind of money? And where am I going to find a printer? How am I going to promote the book? Not to mention distribution.
Do not despair, lad. There is another way.
Who are you?
I am Commander Cag, and I am here to lead you into the light. You don't have to feel alone and adrift anymore. There are many others just like you, who have found their way out of the darkness. Let me show you something.
Wow, it's beautiful. What is this place?
A place where writers, artists, and animators, filmmakers, and like-minded souls can congregate freely and exchange ideas among equals.
Man, this is unbelievable. Everybody working together for the greater good of all? Commander, tell me how I can become part of all this.
Well, you can go to the Comic Book Artist Guild website at www.comicartguild.com.
Thanks a lot, Commander.
Welcome to Catch the Craze. I'm your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera.
Michele St. Martin here.
And today's topic is
Creative blocks.
Yes.
I think that's a very important topic for the lot of us.
yes.
Whether you be involved in music, film, literature, whatever, as artists and creative types, each and every single one of us, I don't care who you are, has gone through some sort of creative block within your career. I don't care if it's just a hobby. I don't care if it's from a professional stance. It's all happened to us. And recently, I dare say, it has happened to me. So I think a great topic would be this and getting around such obstacles and things, because it could be pretty debilitating creatively, emotionally, spiritually, you know, if it's become your life's blood in more ways than one. And how do you get around that? And has it happened to you or anyone else? I would love feedback on this, even though it's not a call-in kind of show yet. We probably will be doing a follow-up on it. Right. But on the website, you know, catchthecraze.com, we have a forum.
Right.
And if you have any sort of feedback on this topic, because I think it's pretty important and I think it's a very viable topic, right, I would like to know. So, Sam.
So, what caused your creative block?
Different things. I can't say it's just one thing. Right. It probably is a collective, without getting too personal.
Right.
It's maybe thinking about things too much. It could be, you know, job related. You know, because a lot of us, you know, unless you got it like that, do have day jobs, right, that you really don't prefer to be in. Right. You really want to do what you want to do. That could be kind of put a downer on right, you when you'd rather be doing something else, but you don't have either the means, the time, the money, right, to do it. You have other things weighing on you, financial situations, emotional situations, romantic situations. It could be anything that really sets it off. Right. So it's, you know.
How long did yours affect you?
Well, this time out, probably a couple months or so.
Wow. That's a long hit.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's happened before. Yeah. I mean, the last bout, before I got re-entered this business on the other side of the table, as it were, it lasted years. But then again, I was I had another outlet. I had music.
Right.
You know, I've been singing since I was 3. And after the singing, there was also writing. So I always had some sort of outlet. But right now, everything is at a standstill.
Right.
So I'm just getting out of it now. And I'm hauling ass. Thank God for great friends. Thank God for this. You know, what I'm doing now. Thank God for Sam pushing me, making me do things but I mean, that can help, you know, that can help when you have somebody, by your side, whether it be a friend or relative or whatever, willing to like push you and say, you know what, we're going to get you out of this, you know, and it's like, do this,
Right.
you know, and just throw you into it, you know, that can help a great deal. So,
Right.
you know, yay. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no stranger to blocks, and I get it all the time.
Right.
I get blocks with illustrating, I get blocks with writing, I get blocks
Yeah.
with web design. I mean, with everything I do, there's always a wall that you hit creatively.
Right.
And I'm actually at a wall right now with a few things. And, you know, one of the things was I needed a boost, a jolt of inspiration to continue drawing Disney in my toilet. Because I hit a wall creatively, and the reason why is because the product is developed as I illustrate it. It isn't a predetermined script. It's all just comes out, and the energy just flows. So, you know, when I was at the Pittsburgh Comic Con, I was going through books that were similar in style and in genre I was looking to get influenced by.
Right.
That didn't work, and so, you know. One of the artists that I like is a guy who does Hero Bear and the Boy and the Kid.
Okay.
And the guy's style of art is fantastic. And even when I went back to look at that, I still was at a wall. And I was looking for influences and things like that. And you know, when I went to see Spider-Man, I got inspired to create again. And the crazy thing was I wasn't drawing, I was writing a script to something else, something that I thought of a while back, but I've never really had the information that I needed to put it together. And when I saw Spider-Man, it just inspired me to write again, and I started writing. And then eventually that creative side from the writing, I started drawing again, and so I started, you know, finishing up the pages of There's No Way I Told It. And I think the one thing that really triggered me to really bust out a lot of pages with There's an Alien is when I secured my printing company for my trading cards.
Okay.
I got so excited that I finally found the right company that I just went and I just started sketching and drawing and working on the pages, and I was like, boom! I needed something because I know I'm going to San Diego. And this time I'm doing San Diego without the team, and so I have to be that much more effective. I know I'm going to be holding my bladder all day. It's going to be it's going to be crazy, and it's 5 days, and I have to be better. I have to be as good as I was and as dynamic as I was in a group setting, because when you're in a group setting, the way it used to be was you would have we would hit doors. As soon as they open the doors, we'd be standing there, giving out the postcards, driving traffic to the table.
Right.
And, and I don't have that. So now I have to think of how can I still get that traffic to the table, which means is get there early, hit the lines outside and give them all postcards outside, have a book bag and just get everybody online and say, with my booth number, saying this is where I'm located. So this way they won't have a problem finding me. And with a little map, because it's big. So I took the time to take the map and put a little map and say this is where we're located by this area. And I looked at, I always say when we're driving, you look for landmarks. So I looked at what's the most visible landmark there. We're right next to the restaurant. So this is the restaurant. We're located on this aisle by this area.
Wow.
By this exit. You know what I mean? So I have to be strategic in my thinking on that aspect. Then the fact that I'll be at the table, if I'm talking to one person and there's a few other people at the table, because at San Diego, that happens. You get 10 or more people at your table at once. How do you get to all those people?
Right.
So I have to be brief with my summaries, and I have to be, precise in the words I choose, and be flexible. So thinking of that, that just created a wall for me. You know, creatively, I was like stuck on just stupid, and I was just like focused on, damn, how am I gonna survive Comic-Con, you know, and get my stuff exposed where I wanted to. And I was stuck on the by myself aspect rather than, hey Sam, you've been doing this for a while. You know what you need to do to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of that rut. And that's why I couldn't draw. And that's why I haven't updated crazycomics.com.
Right.
I haven't updated dutiesworld.com.
Right.
And I was focusing on Cancer Craze because I was like, oh, snaps.
Yeah, it could be just
You know?
something like being completely overwhelmed
Right. And I was just like, oh,
by
man.
everything and everybody, and you know.
Right. But then when I saw Spider-Man and when I got the news from the printer, I was like, you know what you got to do. You know, and it's just that. Sometimes it's just that reinforcement. You know, when just being inspired by somebody else allows you to say, "Damn, you know, now, yeah, all right, cool. This is why I'm doing this. I know what I got to do." You know, it's not like I needed someone to tell me what I need to do. I knew it all along. It's just I needed to get it done, and you know, and sometimes I don't have like when I was in Pittsburgh, I was walking around looking at portfolios and trying to get inspired by other artists. You know, and I was drawing at the table because we couldn't sell a damn book if we tried to, and because small press wasn't it for Pittsburgh. It was Artist Alley and the vendor locations. Everybody was buying commission art or books that were out of print that they were looking for to fill the collection. And when they had the quarter bin or the dollar bin, everybody was over there. So I was looking for inspiration. I found I was drawing Gargamel, and I was drawing Underdog, and I was doing all these commission pieces, and just try to get that creative flow. I was drawing everything but my own characters, and so it happens. Sometimes it happens for 2 months, like you said, and sometimes it happens even longer. I'm just fortunate that there's something that I can fall back on, until that comes back to me. Cassie Craze is always an outlet until something comes back to me. I always have a guest on Cassie Craze. I always have something to talk about to keep that moving, but I can't neglect the fact that I'm also trying to build a business in the comic medium.
Has it ever happened where everything comes to a halt? Everything. I mean, you're multi-talented. You're also a musician, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And, you always have had something to fall back on. If you can't draw, you write. If you can't write, you do music. If you can't, I'm just saying, I'm being hypothetical here, but, it's like, what if you're multi-talented at different things and then everything just comes to a stop because of overwhelming whatever? I haven't been in a position where everything came to a stop. I've been in a position where I was at the point where I wanted to give everything up. Okay. I was just tired. Right. And, it happened a couple of times. One time I just woke up with an anxiety attack. And I was like, I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I was like, enough. I was tired of all the work. I was tired of all the hustle, trying to convince people that I exist, trying to convince my team that we need to hustle more, tired of convincing, the distributors and the media and fans and convention promoters, and I was just tired of the hustle. And I was just like, damn, I'm just going in circles. I can't do this anymore. And I just wanted to give it all up. Wow. And that happened a couple of times. And most of the times when that happens, it's because I'm not getting what I want from maybe the people around me. I'm not getting the response that I feel that is necessary to accomplish certain things, or if when I see, and I'll be honest, and this is just me. It could be my own opinion, but it's like when I go to a comic store and I see something that's poorly produced, and I get so frustrated. Because it's a superhero topic, that poorly produced project, which has about 7 typos, and the perspective is off, but because it has a superhero topic, and then they paid to have a known artist do a cover, that they got the distribution, and something like that can trigger such an anger in you that you're like, this is freaking ridiculous. Yeah, it's bold. And, yeah, right. And so there are times where I just want to walk away from the world. Just like, what, forget this. I'll just do retail, and I'll just whatever. But then something will spark, and I'll see something, and there was a time, and it's funny you said that, because there was a time
there's a guy that listens to the show. His name is Digital Sword, and I consider him a friend. I mean, the guy's such a loyalist, and he's a great guy. He's always active on the forums. And when I was going through a rough period where the team let me down, and for a couple months I was doing the show on my own.
Right.
And these listeners that continue to listen to me even from day one, they've seen all sides of me.
Okay.
You know, they've heard me wallow in self-pity, and they've heard me, you know, spill my guts. I've exposed myself. So there's nothing that you don't know out there about me. And they still stood there. And he said one thing, you know, he said to me, and he's like, you know, I feel for you. I know what's going on. You know, keep your head up. You know, some of these things are things they're meant for a reason. It's only going to make you stronger. And here's a listener that I've never met face to face, and I only met through this show. And he's giving me advice, and he's supporting me through this, and we don't know each other. You know what I mean? And that just reinforced my decision to keep going, because I was willing to give up to catch the craze too. At that time, as I created this, and we're only 6 months into it, I'm already going through these problems, and I was so
I think that's more of what I was talking about. Like, you just feel like giving up on everything.
Yeah, and I've been at that road,
As a whole.
and it's
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to come back, and that giving up is the hardest decision in the world. People think it's easy because there's a lot of guilt involved when you want to give up, because you're not just giving up on everything that you so passionately promoted and did. You're giving up on yourself, and you're giving up on those people that you made believers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the scary part, because there are people who want to see this happen. We're still the underdogs. We're still the little guys with that fight. You know, we're still Rocky.
Good point.
We're still, you know, we're still Rocky #1, Rocky Balboa. You know, he fought, you know, Apollo Creed, and he lost, but he was the winner. He won the hearts. And that's basically, I mean, and I think, and there are people out there who want to see Crazy Comics survive through all this stuff, and that's been supporting us since day one.
Right.
And we're still the little guys trying to fight the fight, and they're like, damn, you're still passionate, you know, through all this, you're still passionate, and you're still freaking, I'm going to go the distance with you, and I'm going to run up the stairs of that museum with you, and, you know, and I can't give up on that. I can't give up on those people. And they say it all the time at conventions. You know, this is a guy, he looks like Tommy Gunn from Rocky. Met him at the first Big Apple we ever did, first convention we ever did. He's been supporting us ever since. We lost touch with him for about a year. And he came back to the Big Apple. He says, oh my God, you know, I'm glad you guys are still doing it. I'm rooting for you guys. I love your stuff.
Wow.
You know, he goes, where did I leave off? He goes, yes, I have this issue. I need this issue. I need this. And we're talking and whatever. He's a filmmaker. He's trying to get his film off the ground and all that stuff. And so much has changed in his life and our lives. And he's like, yo, you guys are still around, man. You really inspire me. And I'm like, just for those few people, you know, that I'm like, wow, you know, I can't, you know, worst case scenario, my goal is, which is why I'm realistic in the sense of doing one project at a time right now, is to see it from start to finish, no matter the outcome.
Right.
Start to finish. A deal doesn't come through with the networks, I went the distance. You know, sales don't kick in and we get dropped with the trade or whatever. I went the distance. You know, go as far as I can with it. You know, and hopefully the product will sell itself. But I can't give up from that. And getting over those blocks is, for me, is really the people. It's for me, that's the inspiration I look for. I look for those guys out there that are fighting the fight. Those people that appreciate the talent, the work. You know, those out there. I get inspired when I see sketchbooks. You know, young, aspiring artists going out there and they want to be the next, you know, Frazettas. You know, they want to be the next, you know, Silvestris, and you know, they want to go out there and break new ground, and they want, you know, but they're doing it their way. That's the inspiration. I mean, the hardest thing is getting over blocks. You know, is finding that inspiration. And sometimes you can search for months, you know, to look for that inspiration. And it happens to me, especially with drawing. I get stuck sometimes, and I'm like, wow, you know, how can I get past this?
Right.
And you know, and sometimes it takes a while, and you can't force it. You should never force creativity.
Right.
Never.
I hear that.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because you're going to get quality that's not suitable to what you normally used to produce.
Exactly. I believe in quality more than quantity.
Right.
You know, you got the power to churn it out and get it right every time. More power to you. But, you know.
Yeah. And that's, I learned that, I learned that with Forbidden, we rushed the second issue. The first book was beautiful. The second book, we rushed it and we failed miserably with the second issue. And that's because we forced it. We didn't let it evolve. And which is why I'm doing with, Cosmic Wars will always be my baby. And which is, right in front of me, I have everything's Cosmic Wars around me. Right. And it's just to reassure me that I'm going to get back to this product one day.
Right.
But my first goal is to finish this project that I have currently, and when I finish it, get to this, no matter how long it takes. Then get to the next project, but do one at a time. And this way you're giving it TLC. I speak to writers. I was speaking to Mike Oming about writer's block, and he said he doesn't get it. And I'm like, you don't get it. I'm like, I don't understand it. He says, I don't get stuck. It's just like I'm always writing or I'm always drawing, and it doesn't. I don't remember getting it. And I'm like,
well, goody gumdrops.
Wow. I'm like, I said, I know even with everything, it's just something that's always, and there's a lot of. It could be a lot of negative influences that causes it, or stress, or your mind. Your mind is just preoccupied,
right?
Or you're at a position in your life where you question your own existence,
right?
And that
right.
happens.
I hear
where
that.
You're like, what am I here for? What am I supposed to learn? What am I supposed to do? It's like, what's my purpose in life? Am I just here to exist?
Right.
And that's enough. That's enough
to put a kibbutz on
everything and be like, whoa.
Whoa. Yes.
Yeah. I can relate. And sometimes it takes something as simple as somebody coming up to you and saying, hey, what's wrong?
Yeah.
You're staying away from everybody. You're not calling. You're not doing anything. I don't see anything new coming out of you. What's happening? And it's like, and then you tell them and they're like, you can't.
Right.
You can't give it up.
Right.
It's like, why? I'm not going to let you.
Right.
It's like, which happened to me recently. A friend who shall remain nameless was like, what's up? And I told my story. I said, whatever have you. And then they're like, do you know how much you have to look forward to?
Yeah.
Do you know you have no idea what I see? And I'm not saying it out of bias.
Right.
I'm saying it as an artist to not only as an artist to an artist, but as a fan.
Right.
I'm like, a fan? I don't have a fan base. I've barely just begun in this fan. And they're like, your work speaks. And I was like, get out of here.
Get out of town.
No, you can't stop.
Yeah.
You can't give up. You've just begun.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all it takes.
And I said, holy shit. Well, I guess I better get off my ass then and start. And I have. I've started drawing again. So, thank God. Knock on this right here. It's nice wooden desk right here. Right. That it started up again, and it's also starting to fuel up other creative influences as well. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
He doesn't know who he is, but
or maybe he does. I don't know. But
Yeah, it does take that. I don't know. And it's when you're in those situations, you just got to be honest with yourself and what you're willing, what is it that's causing this, and
really question as well.
Right.
It's like, are you happy doing what you're doing now as opposed to what you could be doing?
Right.
Like we were just talking about, I'd rather be doing this or drawing all day. Mm-hmm. Or writing all day, or whatever it takes in this business.
Right.
Even if I'm thrown out there doing something that I might be uncomfortable doing.
Yeah.
Then doing what I'm doing in my daily life. Let's just try and be as diplomatic as possible.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and making a living doing what you love. It's like, why are you going to stop?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, exactly. I mean,
So
I don't know. I mean, what triggers you, you know, and out there, and you know, get involved in the forums and get involved in let's talk about it. I mean,
yeah.
it is a problem that we all have to face at one point in life, and,
Right.
you know, and I wonder how Bendis does it, because he is he's overexposed, and he's on multiple titles, and you know, does he get anxiety? Does he get in a point where he's like,
I
have
think
to
if
deliver,
you're
I have-
human,
yeah,
if you're a human and not a robot
Yeah.
or a machine, I don't care what you say.
right,
It happens to you. It happens, whether it be for a week or a couple of days, a month. It could be years. I know people who it's happened to for years.
yeah.
You know, and they deny themselves, and they deny, you know, what they're meant to do.
Right. I think the challenging part is when it comes to getting a block.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting on a block, but there's no obligation to produce something that there is a supportive group out there looking forward, like for instance, that comic book that they're looking for the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're an independent artist, if you're, you know, your own creator, and you have a product and you have to get out the next issue by a certain time because you did solicit and you did make, you know, you committed to it, but now you're stuck.
Right.
At one point or another, you got to kick yourself in the ass and get it done, or send a retraction out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the scary part.
Wow.
It's like, I had to be honest with There's Nails in My Toilet that I couldn't commit to getting my trade paperback to the printer by June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I'm not going to have it for San Diego.
Right.
I know I'll have the books ready for the 5 and 6 were done,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, I wouldn't have I wanted to have the trade, but I had to be honest. So for the people that follow the product, or for the people that I have meetings with who are expecting the trade, I'm still going to deliver the first 6 issues because that's really what they're looking for, the 6 issues. I won't be able to have the trade, so I had to be honest and go online and say, hey, look, I have the cover for the trade.
Yeah.
I'll have the material that's going to go into it, but I won't, because why? Because whether it's company issues that we had that I had to work around, and now that I'm doing all the work on the product, before I was just I was drawing and writing it, and you know, I had a colorist and letterer.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's me doing all the work, so I had to be realistic, you know. And then I had to also get that energy and get that inspiration back, because you know, when you have internal issues or conflicts to get over, sometimes that can take your focus off.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's happened,
No joke,
and
yeah.
you know, and I know that I took a sketchbook. I take my sketchbook all the time when I go to work, and I said, all right. I woke up in the morning and said, I'm gonna get on the bus and I'm gonna start, you know, thumbnailing some pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I swear to you, I'm on the bus for a half hour, and I had the pencil in my hand and the sketchbook,
Yeah.
and the whole time I just looked at a blank page.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything.
And, yeah.
I couldn't do anything. I said,
Hello.
all right. I said, all right, I'll try on my lunch break. I never even opened it on my lunch break. I said, all right, when I get home tonight, I'll. And when I got home, I just stared, and I said,
here, done
you know,
that.
and I was like,
Yeah.
you know what, hell with this. So I went and I got my clay out, and I started sculpting Duty as a character, you know, in a different position, and it's still sitting there half finished. I never even finished it, but it took me time to draw, and I couldn't draw, and I couldn't draw, and I couldn't draw until recently.
Okay.
And it's, you know, and it's something, just somebody saying, hey, yeah, we can deliver this.
Yeah.
And now I'm inspired, you know, and, you know, it is tough when you're obligated to an audience. When you're not, and you're doing it for self-pleasure, there's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just got to wait for yourself to be creative. But when you have a following, how do you handle that? You know,
Right.
it's like you
See, I'm just starting out now, you know, and, you know, professionally. And, you know, it's kind of different because I don't have a fan base and I don't have a particular project right now. I mean, you know, there is a comic that we're going to be doing, me and my partner. And, but there's no set time. This is mostly for us.
Right.
You know, and
we want to give ourselves a deadline, but, we've both been in the same kind of funk.
Right.
And, so it's weird because I'm not in that place yet where I have an actual fan base and people are actually waiting. Like,
Right.
yo, when's your next pinup? When's your next this?
Right.
When's your next that? So it's not yet.
Right.
Hopefully it will be coming soon.
Right.
But, it's just pretty rough. And, this is going to be like a short segment, but, I really want to know, have any of you listeners out there been through this? And of course you have, but what does it take to get you out of it?
Right.
And your situation, whatever you want to say.
Right.
I think it'd be interesting. I think it's a very viable, prevalent topic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be interesting to see who says what.
I know there's like premeditated roadblocks for me. Like,
really?
yeah.
What do you mean?
Like things that cause anxiety.
Okay.
Drawing. Like for me, it's the reason why I decided to go with somebody else to draw Forbidden is because I didn't want to commit all the time to put all the detail and the rendering and shading that it deserves. Because I knew when I looked at my own script, when I wrote the script, I put a lot of crap into that thing. And the setting and the worlds, everything had to mesh and be realistic enough, and it had to complement the story. Right. And when I first started drawing it, I realized I was taking shortcuts. And this is when I first wrote the script years ago, and I was taking shortcuts because I didn't want to put in. I committed to my script, but I didn't want to commit artistically, and so that created a wall. And so I said, you know what? I said, all right, Sam. Be honest with yourself. If you're not willing to go and put in the time, I didn't say I couldn't do it. I just didn't want to put in the time, and I was like, damn, it's just taking me forever. So I was like, all right, I put the script away. And I said, rather than doing that to myself and punishing myself because it was more like work for me. I'm more comfortable drawing cartoony styles. I'm more comfortable. I have fun doing it because I like to laugh and I like to do quirky things and I like just to be just free with myself. But that's drawing something that's like where you have to when I look at work that's produced by like David Keelis or Anibal Arroyo or even Brian Kong when they put a lot of energy into those pages, right? And it reflects when the finished product, but the time involved with me it's like I have to keep things moving and I have to be at a pace that I can work with and I'm comfortable with and I'm not willing to do that, right? Don't force it because it's never going to be the same, and you're going to do it. You're going to hurt yourself. So that before I was fighting and I was forcing it out, and the quality wasn't anywhere near than what Anibal produced on the first book of Forbidden, and I knew I was wrong. I knew I was hurting myself, and I was just forcing it, and that's something I did to myself because I was lying to myself. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So I think we have to be honest with what we're willing to commit and what we're willing to do. Because when you do that creates you put up your own wall.
Yeah, you get in your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Definitely.
And I was talking to you off the air about a situation we had internally where one of the members of the team wasn't being honest about the fact that maybe they might have hit a roadblock, and we as a group had a week to put a book together, and the entire book, and because the person said, I'm committed, it's done, and then now we're forced. I should have made an executive decision. Said, all right, well, we're not doing it. Send out a retraction. Forget about the ads we put out, and let's not do it. Let's not force it, because it wasn't the best material, and it didn't complement the prior issues. Right. And because that person wasn't in their zone, but rather that person had an obligation to be honest with us way before. And so that was, that could have been that person was in a block. It was in a rut. They couldn't do it, But and I think it's just honesty and communicating, especially when you're in a collective environment.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's just someone just saying, dude, I can't do this. I hit a wall.
Dude, where's my car?
Yeah, exactly. Help me out here or something. Yeah. Something So even if it's ideas on what can I do to get the hell out of this situation.
As a writer, what do you do to get yourself out of the rut? Because I mean, we're the cinematographers, I mean, but as a writer, when you're creating the world and the scripts, and you have to be consistent with the life and the flow of these characters and the history and everything and the essence that make them tick. Mm-hmm. How do you get out of that rut? What do you do to inspire yourself?
Man, I read a lot of Alan Moore. I read. You know what? What I do is I take out. I write from a different aspect. I mean, I'm writing actually, starting to write my own. Well, our own, rather, comic book script. So it's my first time writing a script in that, or writing in that format, And, but I've stopped writing altogether, previously. But if I really want to get inspired, because I decided to take up actually the illustrating. So there you go. I have another outlet to, another creative outlet. So, and I'm picking that up again as well. So thank God, But in terms of writing, I read some of my favorite authors, whether it be poetry, whether it be novels, and I don't care how, quote, crappy, unquote it is. Right. It could be a romance novel for all I care. If it gets you inspired. No.
I can't believe it's not.
I mean, whatever it takes. You read some of your favorite authors out there and, you start getting inspired. You start, things start like popping up in your head and being like, I mean, it could be something as simple as looking at a crack on the wall. Right. Or, I mean, you don't know what's going to spark it.
That's funny. Really. You said that.
Yeah.
As a man, we spend a lot of time in the men's room. And whenever I'm sitting down contemplating.
Talking to a woman.
If you look at, like, when you have a wooden door and some of the grooves and patterns of that wood, and sometimes you see characters. Oh, it's amazing. You can see a shadow. You can look up in the clouds and see a face form from the clouds, and those things just trigger. I mean, anything could just spark that creativeness.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, for me, in terms of artwork, it could be like something like going on a website. One of your favorite artists. Or someone who inspires you, whether it be a buddy, since we are in the industry. It could be a buddy. It could, it could be a friend. It could be a relative, if you have a relative in the business or whatever, and they are kick-ass or whatever have you. It could be something as simple as going to Midtown Comics or Forbidden Planet and looking at the art books or the Strand. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Talking to somebody. Right. You know what I mean? In the business, or not even in the business. It could be just, somebody who, does, what they do. And it's like, listen, keep your chin up. Yeah. Don't give up.
Yeah. And I think what works for me when it comes to writing is film. I watch film. I get inspired because there's so many aspects to a film. And when I get stuck as a writer, I look at film, and I go back, and and it's, for some reason it creates that, sparks that creativeness for me.
Good point.
I read a lot of books. I read a lot of novels. But a lot of times that sparks my imagination visually, because that's forcing me to see things that are not in the book. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all text. So when you're reading a book, some of the guys don't understand me, because when I read a book, I get lost in it. And now I'm stuck in that world. So when shit happens, I'm screaming. And so I can be on a bus, I can be anywhere. But if I get caught up and there's something in that book that sparks something, I can wind up yelling out loud or going, oh yeah. And people are like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? But because I see it in my head, that's the sign of a good writer, capturing you.
Oh man,
you know what I mean?
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, I mean, when they can get you caught up in it, and I mean, it's over.
There are times when I'm reading, like, I'm a big Jack Ketchum fan, whom was on my roster, by the way. We'll get into that some other time. He is one of the most disturbing horror writers out there. He's great. He's just he pulls you in. Wow. And it's like his writing is like seeing a car accident. It's like something you shouldn't be looking at, or something that it's so violent and brutal that you're like, I can't look at this, but yet you cannot stop looking. Right. Okay. And there are times when I've read his novels or his anthologies on the train, and I'm like just squirming in my chair, like I have to go to the bathroom, and I'm like,
And they're like, what the hell is wrong with her? And I'm like, if an author can make me squirm on the train and cause a reaction like that where people are like, what the hell is wrong with this woman?
Right.
That's a good writer right there.
Right.
And you know, it really pays to like, you know, don't be afraid to see other artists. Or look at other artists' work.
Right.
You know, I mean, sometimes that could be debilitating, but that's a matter of you getting in your own way as well.
Right.
You know, because right away you think about achieving their level.
Right.
And I'm like, you have to remember, it's not about achieving their level. They've done it already.
Right.
That's them. It's about achieving your level.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and once you get that perspective in check, then you can let that spark happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I went off on a tangent. I don't know, but at least I'm talking. Anyway.
Confucius saying.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's true. I mean, we're all inspired by something, something or another or whatever it is. I mean, I get inspired. You know, we were on the road, again, going to Pittsburgh, and there's 4 of us in the car, and I go and I look up and I'm watching the birds fly. And I mentioned out loud, I said, you ever just spend a day and just look at the birds and watch how they take off and they soar and they land? You ever? And the guy's like, you're just a nut.
And you're like,
you're what's the matter with
crack.
you?
What are you doing?
And I'm like, but that it's such a beautiful, for me, it's like a beautiful form of art. It's like a ballet, watching them fly and watch them soar and watch them land, and it's just elegant, and it's and you think about it, and then you get caught up in how they're able to fight gravity and how it's positioned in the wings, and you start thinking about all this stuff, and you get lost into that world, and you start imagining yourself, what if I can fly? And you just, and that's where that creativeness comes from, and you know, and it's just, I spent the day. I remember when I was young, I was in high school. I used to go with my brother. My brother was a big, health freak, and he was, an aerobics instructor in track lane, and so we used to go to my school campus, and he used to run around the track for about 2 hours. And, for me, it was about 15 minutes and I was done. And so I would lay down on the grass off the side of the track, and I would watch these ants, these colonies of ants, and I'd watch them as they go and collect food, and in a format, like an army format, in single file lines, they come down, and then there's like 2 lines, one going in, one coming out of the cave. And they would bring food to the nest, to the queen.
Right.
And then I seen these red ants with wings. They'd come, and there was a war. I was watching an actual war. They were trying to get into the hole to get their food and to kill the queen. And there's these battles, and what looks like pebbles to me are like boulders to them, because you would see the ants hide underneath, while the ones on the wings are above trying to get them. And I saw 2 ants grab one with the wings. Each of them had a wing, and they're dragging that into the cave. And I just stood there.
Isn't that amazing?
And I was like, wow. And I got caught up. And I would be there until my brother was done. He goes, what? And he would come walking, and I'd scream, don't walk over here.
It's like the orcs and the owls.
Yeah. And I said, get away. And he's like, you're just a nut. And, then he goes spark a joint and walk away. He's a health freak, but he was into, herb. And then, so and every time we'd go, I go and I try to find the colony again and just watch. And it's just those little, and nature, I mean, itself, it's such a wonder. And it's inspiring. And I mean,
for me, it can be something as simple as listening to the subway, the train pulling into the tracks, or to the station. Me being heavily involved in music, for a long time. I was a studio singer for a while. I sang a couple of times live, whatever have you. I mean, singing will be with me until the day I die. That's one thing. But it could be something as simple as hearing, hearing that rhythm. Yeah. And it's like, oh shit. Oops, excuse me. Shoot. Oh, shoot.
Fiddlesticks.
Fiddly. But no, it could be something as simple as hearing, or some heels click-clacking on the street.
Right.
I'm like, that would make a great freaking track. Yeah. Or something, and then that'll get me inspired to writing, and then that'll turn into something else.
Right.
and then I'll get the visual, and it all melds into one another too.
Yes.
And I think another important aspect to remember is that if you're talented in different things, it's important that one thing can always meld into another.
Yes.
It doesn't have to,
Right.
stay separate. For what?
Right.
So, I don't know. That's just a thought.
She's angry.
I'm not!
I was just joking. No, but it's true. I mean, don't be afraid to explore different things and try new things, and because anything at any time, you know what's, I had it on, I lost it, but I had it on film. I was boiling a pot of coffee, and I took, while the black coffee was boiling, I took cold milk and I put it into the coffee pot, and it formed this cloud, and it started moving like the universe. It was just, it was so important to me that I called my wife over and said, "You gotta see this, you gotta see this." And I grabbed the camera and I was filming it, and it looked like the universe, and it was gorgeous, and I was like, wow. And I said I captured that and put it in my Cosmic Wars, book, and that inspired me to be creative. Just watching how cold milk reacted to hot water, and how it formed and molded and took shape. It was just amazing. I didn't put the spoon in to disturb it. I just let it do the same thing,
Yeah.
And it's just and those kind of things. I mean, it's just from anything at any given time, at any given moment. Something can spark that creativity, and you just gotta run with it. And the worst thing you could, I hate when, which is why I carry a sketchbook and a pen with me, and is when I'm somewhere and I'm influenced by something, but I have nothing to work off of. And I want to put that, and you forget that idea. You know what I mean? And you forget that thing that sparked, that triggered that moment. So I always have something I can write with or draw with, in the event that something, so that's why when I get home, and I write enough information about it too, so that way I know when I get home that I can finish it up, or I can follow up on it and then try to get back to that moment. But the biggest disservice you can do to yourself is not have the tools you need to embrace that creativeness.
Okay.
Because you can lose it.
Here's a question. Have you ever stopped yourself in terms of your creativity? And what I mean by that is, let's say you do have the spark. Let's say you see something that inspires you, that is not, and something is like inside you that may not be, let's just say, politically correct, or so out there that you're afraid of letting it out because of of what people may think. I don't know if I'm making sense or not, and it's like you just stop it. I know. Weird question.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right.
She's crazy.
This is a quote that Ozzy Osbourne said, and I'll clean it up for this, for you listeners out there, for the site, okay? Ozzy Osbourne said, if you saw what was in my brain, you run screaming out of my butthole.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
For the sake of, not, I guess, violating the status quo or the norm, or
like
doing something
maybe you're afraid within yourself.
doing something that you're not.
Yo, if this comes out, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
You scare yourself, basically, almost.
Yeah. All right. When I was looking to work as an artist in the business,
okay,
this company hired me to do a comic book, and I found them through a online expo or something, whatever. And they found me, and they saw my portfolio and they contacted me. And so I had a meeting with the owner in the city, and he tells me the concept and the whole bit, and he says, design these characters, whatever. So I designed the male character, and then I designed the female character, and then we met again and all this stuff. And he's like, well, the breast needs to be bigger, the ass needs to be rounder. So I went and I did it again. I came back. He says, well, the breast needs to be bigger. And I said, it's not humanly possible. I just be drawing big circles on the page. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? So he goes, I want erotic. I want this. So he went, and I got in the mail a package of porn magazines and videos of these women with these oversized breasts, quadruple D's, and all this stuff, and that's basically what they wanted for the book, and and there was gonna be nudity and all that stuff, whatever, and I was like, I can do it, and I was like, and the reason why I couldn't do it is because I knew that I wanted to do books that caters to all ages, and I didn't want something that's going to affect my name and have the parents decide that they don't want their kids associated with somebody who did that material.
Okay.
And that's why I stopped. I said no, and and it was good money, and I just turned on a contract. I said no, I can't do it, and so that I was in that situation, and I just made a conscious decision that I can do it for the money right now, and let the chips fall where they may eventually when I start doing kid books, or protect myself now and don't put yourself in a situation where you have to answer questions or you have to try to convince people otherwise, and that's why, and that, so I said a long time ago, I said the money's not as important as the longevity of my career and my reputation and getting to the market that I want, the audience I want.
Yeah, that's because you're targeting a certain market. Right.
So, yeah, I've been in that situation.
Okay.
I mean, the fact I felt guilty. When he sent me the damn thing, I'm looking at my windows, I'm closing my shades. Like, what the hell is this?
It's like, yeah, you feel like,
I can't believe people send people this stuff as material. He goes, here's reference. And I got videos and porn magazines. I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
And,
for me, it's not so much what other people will think because they think I'm whacked anyway.
Right.
So that's neither here nor there to me. And plus, the kind of market I want to target,
Right.
please, they're like, oh, the more out there, the better.
Right.
But it's more of a fear of what's in your own head and like, oh my God, this... you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I wonder if anybody else has gone through that.
No, for years when I was in high school, everything that I illustrated was blood and gore. It was people being mutilated, shot up, blood everywhere. I mean, if you looked at my own binders, I mean, it was always red. There was always red all over my pages and body parts and this and that. And and then I had to sit down and say, am I angry? What's going on inside me?
Right.
That's all that's coming out.
Right.
And so,
exactly.
And because that's
it gets to a point where you actually stop yourself.
Yeah.
And you're putting the kibbutz on your own creativity, as it were, even though it's only on paper.
Right.
I mean, really, I think I heard an interview or read an interview where an author was like, listen, they said, I think somebody asked them, aren't you, don't you think you're going to be afraid, you're going to offend a lot of people doing this kind of work or blah, blah, blah. I don't remember if it was an artist or a writer or whatever have you. And they're like, listen, at this point in my life, you're lucky I'm writing this on paper than actually doing it. And you're lucky I have the freedom to do that.
Right.
I'd rather be writing or whatever, portraying it on paper, or on computer or whatever, than actually committing what I write about. Yeah. Or I guess it was a writer.
And it's funny the reaction you get because, I mean, at the time, when I remember my teacher saw some of the things that I was drawing and she got concerned and that started getting me to think. And she got, and everyone was like, they're like, dude, man, that's crazy, or dude, but it wasn't like. Then I said, all right, I stepped away and I said, all right, let me just stop drawing this stuff. And I used to love Alf. I still love Alf, and I mean, I got the TV series on VHS. I got the DVDs, but so I started drawing Alf all the time, putting Alf in all these different clothing and all that stuff, whatever. And the attention I got for that was supportive, was laughter. Oh, dude, can you draw me one? And I started drawing Alf and selling it. Every day in school, I was drawing about 5 pieces of Alf a day to people. And then I started other artists copying me. And they started drawing Alf to try to make money. And I was like, this is the attention I want, not that. Okay. And so then I found peace. Because for a while, I was upset. And that's probably because I was, fighting a lot in school, and I hung out with a lot of dudes.
You just went through a rough period.
Yeah. So there was a lot of violence and anger during the high school years, and and I guess that was a reflection. That was me screaming out onto those pages. Right. And when I look back at it from time to time, I'm like, wow, I was in the zone at that time. I was somewhere.
I'll never forget. In high school. Yeah, I was always drawing bondage, fetish, always. I mean, well, not always, but let me rephrase. I guess since junior high school, I don't know why, and it's not that I knew a lot about that subculture or that lifestyle, but it attracted me. So I remember in high school, on my binder inside, I did like they were just shoes.
Right.
But very high heel, stiletto, very fetish wear shoes. I still have it too. And it still looks dope. But anyway, so I did all these shoes. I think my mother saw my binder. And she said, Michelle, we have to talk. She goes, I saw your binder. And I was like, what about it? They were just shoes, man. And she goes, it's not shoes. It's what they represent. And then we just went into a whole talk about, that whole thing. And, you're like, oh, is my daughter into? Right. I said, but listen, Ma, they're shoes, And we had our talk and but it's like, wow, my artwork actually caused a reaction. Yeah. Jeez. But it also overwhelmed me how much it frightened.
Right.
And concerned people.
Right.
In particular, my mother at this point, and she knew what it meant.
Right.
It wasn't anything explicit by any means.
Right.
They were just shoes. Right. I was into shoes. I love shoes.
Right.
What woman doesn't love shoes? But it was just amazing. So, that's happened to me where it's like something so out there. Right. Not necessarily violent or whatever, but just of such a nature that it was like you just stopped yourself, and that caused the creative block. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting.
Whenever I got angry with somebody, I'd portray them as a bad guy, a mob guy in my pages, and me being a detective, I put a character, and that character shot him down, or and they're bloodied up, and
right. And so, it's not necessarily that you have to show it to anybody,
right.
or nobody will ever see it. You do it for yourself, but still, it concerns you so much.
Yes. Yes, I used to put my teachers in settings all the time.
You know what I mean? So, and it's like, holy, I think I got to put a little bit of a stop to this.
Because you need a release. I think what happens is, and I'm probably off topic, but when people get angry and they don't have a release, sometimes they cause these acts.
Right.
In reality.
Thank you.
And if you don't have something, like, I was talking to
I agree.
I have an employee of mine who has an ulcer. And now he has to change his diet and everything. I was telling him, I said, you're very reserved and you keep everything to yourself, and you have these walls up. I said, you don't have an outlet. You need to get into sports, or you need to find a hobby or something that's going to release that energy. I said, because you're going to hurt yourself.
You know what? And that, I'm glad you said that, because that right there can be the thing that sparks you. Yeah. Fear of hurting yourself. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not talking, physically, like putting your hand through a wall or anything like that, but I mean, physically, like physical manifestation. I really believe in that. Like, if you stop yourself from doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to hurt yourself either mentally, or medically. Right. It's going to manifest. Right. So that right there can be the thing that says, okay, I gotta, this has to come out. Right. So, and that could be something that actually lets that spark happen again.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So.
Anyway.
That's us on roadblocks. I mean, what works for you, what doesn't work for you? What do you do to get off out of these ruts? Even talk about it on the forum. I mean, we will have a follow-up and hopefully have listeners participate.
I am very interested to actually read your feedback.
Yes.
And I will be watching.
Yes, we're watching you.
So,
yes,
I expect to see feedback on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Your assignment will be no.
Yes, you have homework. I will obey Sam the Crazy Man very well.
No, I think it's an interesting topic.
Yes, it is. I mean, and, I love to hear what you have to say.
Yes.
So, I am Sam the Crazy Man Vera.
I'm Michele St. Martin.
The Maniac. And, look forward to a lot of things coming down the road. Again, thank you to, our sponsors, the Comic Artists Guild and, Big Apple Con and Daystar Studios. Thank you all. And, we'll catch you next time.
Ciao.
Peace. Oh, and listen to our competitors. The Comic Novice Radio Show.
Yay!
Mark Torres hates when I say competitor. He goes, "We're not competitors.
We're friends.
We're friends." I said, "No, we're not friends. All right, you know what I'm saying? We are not friends." No, but yeah, they got a great.
I
show.
love you guys.
Yes, I do too. He's like, "Oh, fiddlesticks." So yeah, listen to the Comic Novice Radio Show, which is every Thursday nights at 9:00 at night. You can listen to it online on the radios and what is it? What's the radio station? I don't know. They don't even have a logo. What's up with you? You dropped the ball, G. You didn't learn anything from me. You just can't see. Look, get a logo. We need a Comic Novice Radio logo, all right? But go to Comic Novice. I think it's comicbooknovice.com.
Yes.
And, go to comicbooknovice.com and you'll find out all the information about it. Great group of guys. You know, Peter Palmiotti?
Yes, it is.
Which is the brother of Jimmy Palmiotti. And Mark Torres. And I'm out. Man, I've been working forever on this project. Nobody knows about me, my company, or anything that I have to offer. I don't have the budget for those big advertisements in those magazines. I mean, I can afford a little bit, but how do I know I'm getting my money's worth? What's a guy like me to do?
I hear you. I understand. Let's make it happen today. Visit CatCraze.com. We have all kinds of packages for all types of budgets. So you want to expose your product? What are you waiting for? Visit CatCraze.com right now. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, here we go. Just for my peoples out there. You know how we do. Said a 1, 2, 4, we're busting through the doors. The name is Catch the Craze, so we're bigger than before. The #1 show that's on the internet. There is no competition, so forget about the rest. We have the #1 spot, like it or not. The show is hot, it's gonna pop. Stop and listen and watch. From comic books to movies, to music and poetry, the whole damn world is for the Craze, G. Catch the Craze, catch the Craze, catch the Craze.